Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/get-started for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
Service talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio. Late night conservative talk show in America. And in the West was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show on the 30th of December, 2014, the last one of the year for us here, folks, and it is going to be, a pretty mediocre show. But, we're going to give it our best, and really that's all that counts sometimes.
You scared me for a moment, and here's why. Ken's outro music tonight, when it started playing, like, you dimmed the lights in the studio.
Well, yeah.
You lit a couple candles.
Yeah.
And you grabbed the bottle of wine.
Well, that's what I do.
And
I just figured that,
you unbuttoned one or two buttons on your shirt, and you kind of tilted your chin down a little bit, and you looked at me and you said, "Are you ready to do this?"
Get it on.
And I said, You mean
the
show, right?
Sorry. Yeah, the show. Of course I was talking about the show. What's wrong with you?
You scared me. I don't know.
You shouldn't be scared, my friend. You should always, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Just sit back, relax, enjoy your wine. Welcome everyone listening tonight on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much to the exceptional one himself, Ken McClinton, for doing the entirety of the show and hopefully leaving a few people left for us. We're also simulcasting on our Spreaker tonight, so if you want to catch us over there, if you're a Spreaker listener,
Sacco,
you can do
Sacco.
Really?
Is he not here again?
He's not here. He's not going to be here until after 9.
This was your night to let him out.
The delivery service got caught up in traffic.
This was your night.
You know how, you know how if they move like wild animals from one zoo to the other, there's like a specialized delivery service?
Right.
That's what we use to get him to the studio.
No, I know. I write the check every month.
Right. Things got out of line.
Apparently, got out of slime?
Apparently he was throwing things from inside the cage out. I'm not going to say what it was.
Again?
But it was self-made.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Right, like an apple pie.
Right. And you know him. I mean, he's just...
hairy.
Yeah. Amazingly hairy, which is just, it's a shame. He's a sweet kid, but man, there's some days he just gets really anxious and angry. He's an angry elf.
You got him a lot of little bows for Christmas.
Yeah.
And you said specifically that next time he showed up in studio, you wanted them on the ends of braids all over his body. So that we could post that picture on the website.
Right. And here's what's happened with that. It's kind of funny. So there was a Nair incident.
I remember the Great Nair incident of 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
Very much so.
And a lot of our listeners are familiar with that.
Yes. So it was...
it's where the whole llama story comes in. And if you guys remember the llama story and Sacco, that's where it originated from.
Right. That's kind of where it all came from. Most importantly now is he's recovering, which is great.
In therapy,
but recovering.
Right.
And, it's one of those things that hopefully he'll be back around soon. We're just hoping, for his sake.
Because he has good days and bad days.
He does.
Because the Nair incident of 2011 actually preceded the llama incident of 2012.
Right. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, but I mean, they were all still within a few months of each other. But different names because different, calendar years.
Oh, man. So much fun. So much fun.
How was your Christmas?
It was wonderful. How was yours?
For anybody who may not be of the Christian faith, how was your winter holiday, or how was your Christmas, not in the religious sense, but in the federal holiday sense?
How was your last Thursday?
It was great.
Well, good.
Did you get that Spider-Man outfit you wanted?
I did, and here's the funniest part. I wanted a medium husky. Was
Right.
the size I was going for.
Right.
But I ended up getting just straight medium, and I'm kind of glad I did now.
Really?
Yeah. It's really snug.
No, it is. Like, it's so snug you can actually see the indentation of your belly button. Like, it actually molds that closely to your shape.
And the guy at the grocery store said that, 90 days and I can come back. So that's good. I mean, it wasn't, it was just...
Well, here's the thing. When you hike up the front and put your finger in your belly button while you're talking to the manager...
I wanted to prove a point. I just
that's
wanted to
not
prove to
how
him it could be done.
You do it.
Well,
I think he believed you.
Really? I don't
Yeah.
think so. He was crying and shielding his children.
Right. Well, that's because that wasn't your belly button at that point.
Well, the thing is so small. How
It was
am I
his belly
supposed to know? Yeah. Well, that was a confusion more than anything else. I brushed by him. Long story short, I got it all sorted out with the law, so that's good.
And they didn't believe you at first.
Well,
You had to put the shirt back on
right.
for them to really
And then once
get
they
the
saw it-
visual. Right.
Once they saw it, everything was just A-okay.
And the best part is the shirt said free candy
Yeah,
and had a unicorn with a rainbow on
well,
the front.
first of all, I do give out free candy.
I
I have a van that it's written all over
I'm
it.
not denying that.
Amazing how many law enforcement officers I meet with that van.
What's even better, though, is because of your last incident,
Right.
you've actually crossed out candy and put Sacco.
Yeah, that hasn't helped either. And Ken's calling me the trench coat wonder. No, I put free Sacco, and then the van got burned. And I did want to talk to you about that because I needed that van, and
Uh-huh.
I know how anti-free Sacco you are.
Right.
But all you
That
had to-
wasn't me.
All you had to do is ask.
Listen, we have such a following, and on both sides of the issue,
Yes.
and I am confident that was not me.
Really?
Yes.
Are you 100% sure?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't me.
80%?
Listen, why do we have to put a number on everything? Why does everything have to be
There's a-
defined with you?
I think there's a chew can found nearby.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't me.
I'm so glad.
There was a Copenhagen can and boot prints.
I don't know where that came from.
That's obviously they were listeners of ours. It was obviously Ken.
Yeah, Ken was guilty.
Why are you laughing? Black people can't be cowboys?
I didn't say that.
That's what.
No.
Why does everything come down to race with you? I mean, I don't know why you are so divisive on this issue. But anytime a possibility is presented that could cross racial cultures and boundaries, you laugh it off and immediately just discard Ken as a possible suspect because Ken can't wear cowboy boots?
Well, I never said he couldn't.
Okay, but you implied because he's black he would not wear cowboy boots.
No, I don't think
That's
I don't
exactly
think
what
Ken
that
dips.
was.
I think that was my biggest thing. I don't think Ken dips. I don't know why a
He
chew
might
can.
be a hell of a dancer. You don't know.
Hey, Ken, can you dip me so we can find out?
He may put his hand up. He may put his hand up on your hip.
If we go to Freedom Fest this year,
right?
I am so dancing with Ken and getting dipped, just so I can find out if he can dip or not.
If he can, in fact, dip, and this could eliminate him as a possible person of interest.
Yeah. Ken brought up a good point in the chat room. So you just assume all black people are great dancers?
Of course, I've seen them dance.
That's a good point. Can't argue that. There are some facts that are just indisputable.
Right, and the fact that black people can dance is a fact, and we work on facts in this show.
We are a very factual-based show. You know what the best part about this is? Ken and I had a long conversation today, and this very subject came up.
Dancing?
Yes.
Or dipping?
Both.
Okay.
And I'm so glad it did, because now he'll know the truth about you. So
here's the thing. So, do you know who Darius Rucker is?
Yes, actually.
Formerly Hootie.
He was Hootie.
Right.
He was Hootie.
And he is an African American. And he is a country singer.
Oh. So
your whole racist point earlier, where you just kind of laughed it off, is disproven right there.
All I remember from Hootie is all I want to be is with you, or something like that.
Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. And that's why we do this show every week.
Speaking of shows.
Who was speaking of shows?
Did you have a good year on the show? I kind of want to do a couple minutes about the end of the year.
You know what? If you keep going at this rate, I am not going to do another show with you until next year.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to take my chances, young man.
Okay, go for it.
I'd like to think that this year we stepped up a notch.
Just one?
Yeah.
Why do you minimize everything?
Because, you know what? I don't like to come off as a bragger.
But it's not. We deal in facts. We nailed it this year.
Yeah, all right, we nailed it this year. So we stepped it up a couple notches, and over the last 2 years. And
that's not one notch a year. I see what you did there, Sean. I'm on to you.
You're on to me. I'm so glad I have someone like you to keep me straight in that.
No, like literally. We're in the same chair right now.
Oh, boy. But I really think that next year is going to be a better year for us here at SHR Media and the Sackhead Show. I'm really excited. Is that the wind outside right now? That's impressive.
No, that's a siren. I think the NSA finally figured out where we are.
The funny part is we wire the internet 2 doors down, so that house is about to get raided like nobody's business. And I'm really excited about the next year and the next couple years and growing. We're adding a couple shows. Liz Loris' show is going to be on here starting January 9th at 4 p.m. Pacific. 4 p.m. Pacific.
She's awesome.
She is absolutely awesome. Southern Sense is going to come on board, and we're going to broadcast with her. I'm really excited. Corey Evan from the Evan Miller Report is going to do our weekend news desk, a 30-minute news brief each weekend, Saturday and Sunday, both days for us, so I'm kind of excited about that. So we got the boost going. Rooster's actually reworking some of the website and streamlining, updating that.
I miss him.
He may make an appearance this evening.
I miss Rooster.
I miss Rooster. We love Rooster. We going into this too. Everyone needs a reboot time, and I think politics just drives you into the ground so much after a while. So, yeah. But that's coming on board. There's just really a lot going on. So we're excited. We really are excited.
Why did you not mention Ken's show?
Do I have to mention it? I mean, let's be honest. Do I have to mention the Exceptional Conservative Show?
It would be nice. You mentioned everybody else.
Oh, really? Okay, fine. To answer Ken's question, we haven't voted on that yet in the chat room. Ken wants to know if anything's going to happen with the Black Man Show. We haven't had a vote yet, and we got to go back to that. We were all going to jump on the bus and sit in the back and talk about it while we were en route to our trip.
And dance, play music and dance.
And dance and play music. Of course, the Exceptional One, who is our flagship show on the SHR Media Network. And so much wonderful things out of it. and all joking aside,
Look, we have big things planned for next year.
we have amazing things planned, and we have amazing things planned with our good friends, and we will continue
Include
to
the black
improve,
man.
And
Oh, that's not what you were going to say.
no, we're not going.
We're not going to
No,
include
we
him?
are going to. Wait, that
Yes,
just
we're
come out
going
right.
to include him. Ken, I apologize for everything that Sean is saying right now. This is ridiculous.
Oh, I am very, very excited.
I can't wait until we all get together as a network. I can't wait till we all get together and drink
Oh,
at the next event.
I am
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, and we have to look
Because
at-
I'm bringing the bubble machine and the licorice thong for Ken.
yeah.
I have a written commitment with him with a forged signature
Yep.
that says that he will wear that licorice thong.
That's legal.
A cowboy hat.
Yep.
A pair of boots.
Yep.
Which blew your theory out of the water from earlier.
Way out of the water.
And dance to
Did he
country
borrow
music
from
with
Darius?
the bubble machine.
I think that's going to be outstanding. I also heard that he's going to dye his hair blonde. So I'm kind of excited about that because I think he's a natural blonde. If you look at him, he is.
He's going to look like the guy from General Public. Not the white guy, the other guy.
He'll be photographed with Congressman Scalise.
I want him to sing Tenderness with his hair dyed blonde. I'm not going to give him Wesley Snipes
No?
from Demolition.
No.
No, we're going to give him General Public.
I think that's a much better one to go with. I really do. So please stick with us through 2015 and beyond because we are going to take over
The world.
mainstream media.
Not literally for anybody at
Well,
the
it
NSA
depends
that's
on what happens.
listening,
I mean,
but
it depends.
we
really.
might. Just Denise Rodman?
Denise Rodman? I like that. We can get a wig on him.
American?
Merkin.
What?
What? Oh, man, it gets out of control. So stick with us. He has so many great shows to talk about. And, of course, the Evan Miller Report as well, who's doing an outstanding job. And
Go ahead, laugh. I know you want to. I just brought up a picture
of General Public.
General Public.
Yeah,
and
it's
pointed
pretty awesome.
To the one that Ken would probably look like.
Oh, dude, you know what? We could go
We need to.
all 90s theme,
Uh huh.
and I could go as Snow.
Oh no, this is
Remember the rap star Snow? General Public might be 80s.
General Public was 80s. Tenderness.
That's right. Okay. Ooh, what if we went as Earth, Wind, and Fire?
What if we went as Ebony and Ivory?
All right, great. I get to be the and again. So check out some great things here on the SHR Media Network. And of course, check out our friend, the exceptional one himself, Ken McClinton.
Are we going to when we actually do the event?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to announce so that our listeners can stop by also and say hi?
Yes.
I like meeting them at the convention we did
yes.
earlier this year. That was my favorite part of
Dude,
the
when I
entire
tell
convention.
people we sign an autograph here and there, they don't believe me. And I almost don't believe it, except for when I paid that guy to come up to us and say, will you sign these? Yeah. It happened.
And what was weird is they were breasts.
He had the best man boobs going.
They were great.
Oh, let's get down to business, my friend.
Oh, it's that time, isn't it?
It is that time.
You know, the FBI. They came out of the closet, and you know they did their investigation, and they do a great a great job, right? Our friends over at the FBI, and it does not stand for frickin' big idiots.
No, really?
I thought it did. It doesn't. It stands for something else. And you know they pinned the whole Sony hack on North Korea. Now it turns out that FBI may stand for frickin' botched investigation.
No, actually, you know what? Let's look at the Boston Marathon bombers. We could verify that it goes to friggin' botched investigation.
Friggin' botched investigation.
Well, before we get too far into it, I do want to say that we had two separate listeners last week and the week before when we talked about it say that they did not believe North Korea was involved. And both listeners are good friends of our show, and I won't say who they are because they enjoy
their anonymity.
Yep, but I have to give them credit.
Yes, and one of them is, she's awesome.
The other one, not so much.
The other one is
just a lucky guess.
Just a lucky guess. We don't give any. The other one's actually really educated. But so I saw this story on Fox, and Judson Berger is the one who reported on it. Apparently, there's a cybersecurity firm that says that no, hey, we have evidence, we have raw data that we want to give you. And the firm is Norse, I guess like Viking. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that it was
Love
not
their funerals.
It was not North Korea, but that it was somebody who was an insider, potentially a former employee that had detailed insider information that only somebody at Sony would have knowledge of. And apparently they met with the freaking big idiots, or I'm sorry, I said it didn't stand for that, right? With the botched investigation folks for about 2 or 3 hours, and gave them the data to say, hey, listen, this was not Kim Jong Un's, little Kim's regime.
Hello.
But they believe it was a disgruntled former Sony employee. Mm-hmm. And according to this source, the FBI was very open to the information, which is good.
To a point.
However, here's a quote. The FBI has concluded the government of North Korea is responsible for the theft and destruction of data on the network of Sony Pictures Entertainment. Attribution to North Korea is based on intelligence from the FBI, which, let's think about that right there.
Well,
intelligence from the FBI. Okay, so it's based on nothing. The U.S. intelligence community, DHS, there's somebody. There's something you want to hang your hat in.
Thank goodness.
Foreign partners and the private sector. The Bureau added, there is no credible information to indicate that any other individual is responsible for the cyber attack. No credible information. So, Norse turns over raw data, briefs them for 2 or 3 hours, gives them malware samples that indicate, quote, super detailed insider information, end quote, that only a Sony insider would have. But the FBI is basically saying they're a bunch of knuckleheads, which is kind of like the pot calling the kettle.
Yeah, no kidding.
And what?
What?
That we really don't think that it's right. It's not credible. That information's not credible.
And I love that because they automatically discount the fact that perhaps it was a Sony employee who worked with the North Koreans. Or they're just automatically discounting, and that tells you how wrong they may have been. You know, it's one of those things to me. The FBI can't get out of their own way 90% of the time.
Nor do they try.
Right. They just absolutely...
They have their pocket protectors and their protractors. They're cute.
They're suits and ties.
Cute little college kids.
You know who they remind me of?
Urkel.
No, hallway monitors.
Okay.
With the sash.
Right.
Like, I don't think you should be doing that, and I'm going to have to tell the teacher that you ran in the hallway.
Only somebody told them they were more important than they really were, much like a hallway monitor, right? And it's sad to me how much money gets thrown into the FBI and how lousy the information coming back. I mean, listen, I say again, every time I bring up the FBI, I'm going to talk about this now. Look at the Boston Marathon bombers.
Okay. I don't mean to laugh at that. I laugh at just because FBI is
I know.
funny.
You look at the Boston Marathon bombers. They were told by Russia, of all places, called them and said, hey, here's this guy, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, who has been radicalized in the Chechnya region. He's returning to your country. You probably want to watch out for him. FBI does a quote-unquote scrub of him and find out, he's nothing.
Like literally?
No.
Did a couple agents go and bathe him?
Well, they might have.
They might have.
That's their
that
their
wouldn't
enhanced
surprise me,
interrogation
right?
technique.
Is this waterboarding? Oh, no, I don't think we're doing it right.
Water-
Just give them a bath.
Boarding.
Just give them a
I'm
bath.
sorry, I thought it was water boating.
I thought it was motor boating. No, that's something different.
That's something totally different.
Yeah.
Right? So they missed Tamerlan Tsarnaev from Russia, of all people, Russia. And as a result, you have the Boston Marathon attacks. Now, I'm not saying they're complicit. I'm not saying that they're held responsible. I just said they sucked at what they did. And it looks more and more like they suck at what they did with Sony as well. Maybe there is...
We don't know for sure.
Right, but maybe there is evidence that needs to be looked at and listened to. As I said, perhaps it was a former Sony employee who's working with the North Koreans.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Riddle me this.
Yes.
Who is more credible? The
boy.
federal government
Oh, boy.
or the private sector?
Usually the private sector.
Huh.
Honestly, because I know they're out to make a profit and get their name out, and I'm not saying that that's not true. The federal government's all about retaining power. Look at all the big scams that have happened with this administration over the last 7 years now, 6 years.
6.
And
Ish.
how much ass covering has been done for boo-boos made from within. And you think the FBI won't do the same thing? And there's no checks and balances for the most part. You could have 30 agencies come out or 30 private sector companies come out and say, hey, you know what? We have evidence this was an inside job by Sony, blah, 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 blah. And the FBI will say, well, our investigation's concluded, and this is what it concludes.
And we're the FBI, and we're a big deal. I don't know if you've heard of us or not, but we had this guy, J. Edgar Hoover, who he may have done vacuums also. Either that or it was a college name, we don't know. But either way, we had J. Edgar Hoover.
We've launched such amazing investigations such as...
Listen, we pretty much nailed it, and we've done cool things like... Listen, we are a constitutionally protected entity that... Yeah, no, I got nothing. It's not like our...
Have you done your taxes? Let's get back to basics. Listen, I know the FBI, they have done... Well, they kind of did some great things with the mobs in the 60s and 70s, but a lot of
as far as cutting them deals and...
Right.
Oh, no?
Well, then you get into Whitey Bulger and all that stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And then you find out that they had agents all the way up to the director, special agent in charge in Boston be involved, including the Department of Justice lawyer who's involved in helping the Bulger clan, so that's not a good one either. Listen, we're going to put our researchers on this and find out something the FBI's done right. And we'll get back to you as soon as we can. We're pretty sure there's something out there. They stamp their envelopes when they mail stuff.
How do you know? Do you have confirmation of that?
I do.
Do you have a stamped envelope from
I
the FBI?
have a friend of mine that works at the U.S. Postal Service.
Really?
Yeah, insider. So they do
Is
that
the stamp
right.
put on correctly?
No, it's upside down usually.
Oh, well, there you go.
And it's taped on, which is the weirdest thing because they're self-adhesive.
So you
but they
can't
get
do
it on.
that.
I mean, they get the job done.
Or they use the sticker kind and they lick it, so it ends up stuck on their tongue. And then they have to investigate the post office because they think it was like done on
Terrorist
purpose.
attack?
Right.
Oh, we get the sticky stuff all over. I just picture the FBI office like 5 guys with just stickers all over them. They're like, it won't stop! Quick! Call the fire department. We're going down. They poisoned us.
Guys, it's adhesive.
Yeah.
What do you know? You're just a street cop.
Oh, look at the fireman shit coming in saying, just peel it off, stupid. Who does your taxes? So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this. I just once again think that the FBI boned it. It sounds like.
Maybe. We don't know.
But you know what? I don't miss an opportunity to give a hard time to our good friend Hyrule as often as possible. Do you know how many compliments I got on that? Usually I get hate mail for stuff like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I get blown up for it almost literally sometimes. This time, I had a bunch of people think that was just the funniest impression in the world.
Well, it's not really an impression.
And I stole it. That's the best part. It's not even original.
I think it was a quote.
It was a quote.
Yeah, it's not
a direct quote.
A direct quote
from Kim Jong-un when he met Dennis Rodman.
From Little Kim.
He said, "Oh, hello."
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, I think
we're going to
so
verify it, but I'm not sure.
We have to, little cheese eater. Oh,
which one?
Man, Dennis Rodman. I don't know if he eats cheese. I don't know phases.
He might.
He might eat cheese.
He might. This was going to be a fun night when we were quoting Duck Dodgers in the 21st and a half century at the beginning of the show. And I don't even know how it started.
I don't either.
But I think I said I got the drop on you with my disintegrating pistol.
And that's exactly what happened. Whoa. And brother, when it disintegrates, it disintegrates.
And then we had to pull up the YouTube clip and laughed, and then we didn't really get the show prepped, and so we're just kind of winging it tonight.
We do it weekend again.
How did Sacco do that? He's not even here.
It's me. Don't give him any credit. Hey, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back in 3 minutes here on the SHR Media Network, we're going to discuss
stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Just stuff.
And
we're going to nail it.
Including New Year's Eve plans in Ferguson.
Hey, I got 3 minutes to prep the next segment. Let's roll to the commercial.
We'll be back here on the Sack Kids Radio Show.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Catholic, stupid.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Hit down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, and sensitive life in military and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to make a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on 405radio.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
Our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. But obviously he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show. Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Roy Hahn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Well, I would say that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution don't read rather correctly. Consider the objection against titles and nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, which is not so outdated. The purpose of the objection is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The current capitalism, so common today, is a place where the government bestows fabulous tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
So great, because then he looks at me, and I look at him, and I say, is that a clip-on tie? And this look of horror runs over his face, and he looks at his partner, and I go, and that, do you do that like to match your clip-on badge? Like what is that? What is with you guys at the FBI?
And why are you wearing a short sleeve shirt?
Right.
It's January.
Right. And you don't need a scientific calculator. Like your job is not that important.
I just think it's great that they have it in like a speed holster.
Right.
You owe us $19
with the tape, and they're going to take it.
We're going to take it out of your ass.
When are we going live?
This week's Chuckle Bucket is brought to you by the FBI. So what are you doing for New Year's Eve? Do you have any big plans?
No.
Okay, well, in Ferguson, they have some big plans.
No, they don't.
They're titling their night, from what the protesters are saying, a Massacre of Pig Night.
Oh, really?
In Ferguson,
is this your
Missouri.
segment? Oh, okay.
I jumped ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. We'll just flip-flop it. I didn't know where you were going with this.
Well, when you put such pressure on me, I can't help myself.
Well, when you want your prostate checked, it takes pressure.
Not on the roof of my mouth. That's weird. So all across the country the last week since the assassination of the 2 New York City police officers, there's been an increase in attacks on law enforcement and police officers in general.
And it begs the question, this is why we named the segment, is there a war
on police?
On police.
This is a scary time for me in this country because, whether you agree with all the laws, you don't agree with all the laws, the people that enforce them, by and large, are good people. And most of them believe in the Constitution, stand by the Constitution. Not every single one of them. And, there are some flaming liberals who are in law enforcement, and I completely understand that. But I think overall, law enforcement's filled with people who are inherently good. And you take it, the 2 incidents that have been highlighted as of late, Michael Brown in New York with Carver, and they have turned this into an excuse to go after the very essence of law and order in this country. We are a nation of laws. We are based in law. We have laws for what? We have laws for a reason. And the people who enforce those laws, and listen, there's some pretty awful, heinous people out there. And you go through the list of serial killers and rapists and all that stuff.
There's evil in this world.
There's evil in this world
and
that
they
need to be dealt
confront it.
with. And, very, very often. And some of them give their lives in so many different ways, in injury, et cetera, et cetera. And now we have the likes of the Ferguson protesters and the Carver protesters and, the Berkeley professors and the Al Sharptons in the world and the Bill de Blasios in the world.
And the presidents.
Civic leaders and the presidents, all in that, who are essentially being complicit in the endorsement of attacks on police. We had, just this week alone, on the 26th, there was a group of Rhode Island police officers that were assaulted during an arrest. They were making an arrest outside a club, and they were attacked by about 6 people. One was knocked unconscious. The other one was beaten pretty bad. Los Angeles, on the 28th, there was 2 law enforcement officers that were shot at while they were sitting inside their car, much like New York City.
In L.A., right? Los Angeles.
Yeah, Los
California.
Angeles, Dade County, Florida, the same day, the same type of incident. And then just today in Pennsylvania, the police there made an arrest against a guy who, I think he released a YouTube video, or
yeah, they attempted to make the arrest. He posted, I don't know if it was YouTube, but a video basically threatening to kill police and FBI agents. And listen, we make fun of the FBI, but we don't wish
ill
harm or ill will or anything like that upon anybody.
Right.
But they, except for terror, we wish ill will upon terrorists. And,
well, no, you know what I mean.
But yeah. So they went to try and arrest him for the online threat, and he attempted to run them over. They were trying to order him out of the car. He was getting ready to accelerate and run them down, and so they had to shoot him. And I saw in that story that somebody said that the police superintendent, Michael Chitwood, he was asked, hey, was the guy armed? And he said that he didn't know if the person had a weapon. Well, first of all, if he tried getting ready to run the officers over, he was about to use his car as a weapon.
Yeah.
So, hey, Chitwood, if somebody asks you, did he have a weapon, your answer is yes. He was attempting to use his vehicle as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And
pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward. And the officers fired to save their lives, and they ended up killing this guy. But again, just somebody who was threatened to kill police law enforcement, FBI, and then when they stopped him, was getting ready to run him over and forcing them to shoot him. So, is there a war? Yeah. I mean, look, you have these groups that I think it was. I saw another story earlier this week, and I don't have it in front of me. I think it was in Missouri or Michigan. I think it was Missouri, where an off-duty police officer was actually followed.
Missouri. And
tried to, when he parked his vehicle to get out, came upon fire. They shot at him. I think he returned fire, and
I think they followed him from the station.
Drove off. I believe so. I don't.
Yeah.
So, is there a war on law enforcement? Yes, and I think because we're seeing it more out in the public, because the movement has some form of legitimacy now in their minds. It's almost cool to try and kill a cop.
So scary.
It's ridiculous, is what it is. So, I mean, we just had you pulled the numbers before the show. The number of ambushes is up from law enforcement.
Up to 15 so far since in 2014, and a majority of them have fallen in the latter half of 2014 after the Michael Brown grand jury release. So you had ambushes up to 15, gun deaths
up from 5.
Up from 5, yeah. So it's doubled or tripled rather.
Tripled.
Gun deaths at the hands of law enforcement officers at the hands of firearms are up 56%. It's the highest number since 1997. There was a tremendous dip over the last few years in overall gun violence, which people don't like to talk about.
Right, but don't like to talk about it at all since the number of guns has increased. That's weird.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
And then more so with officers being killed by firearms. So that went way down. So you have that as well. Those two numbers to me are so alarming because last year I can recall 2 incidents last year. 2013, there was the police officers up in Washington who were eating breakfast, and I think that was a sovereign citizen group.
Just killed them all in the coffee shop, right?
Coffee shop, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was the 2 Las Vegas police officers last year. Same type of thing. They were sitting in the coffee shop, again, sovereign citizens. And now you're having this movement, and those 3 that I listed, that's just in the last few days. There's been numerous pot shots been taken at police officers. There's been numerous attacks. Today, I think, in Boston, there was a attack where 2 police officers were trying to arrest a young man, 18-year-old kid, for I think a robbery or something like that, and 7 or 8 other juveniles, 16, 18, 19 years old, all jumped the police officers. One of them got knocked unconscious, and it turned out pretty bad. So these sort of things that I'm sure some of it is because we have a heightened awareness right now to this sort of incident, and the media is pushing it out there a little bit more, but you can't ignore the fact that this is happening now, and it's increasing, and it's getting worse. And listen, when you have the Ferguson protesters throw out "Massacre a Pig Night" as their chant, then you can tell what's going on, and people are listening. Listen, the Ferguson protesters are what spawned all these other protests. Berkeley, Oakland, L.A., New York, all that other stuff has been really spawned out of this. The hate speech that came out of Ferguson after the Michael Brown release, and I was talking to my friend the other day who was just like, well, you have to understand why they're upset, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, I totally understand why they're upset. They didn't read the indictment. They didn't read the evidence. It was an emotional response instead of a literal response. Flip that around. If the rest of the country was to have an emotional response to their protests, and all of a sudden you had groups start showing them up, shutting them down, maybe attacking those protesters because of what they're causing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, people would be going insane. But when the protesters, because for whatever reason people are giving them a pass on certain things, and I don't understand that pass. No other group gets that sort of pass. But when you have a group of people who are angry over the death of 2 black men, and they're using them as martyrs, and now they're going to use this New York assassin as a martyr as well, it's really bizarre to me how that gets okayed. I was reading a report. Rudy Giuliani last week was talking about Al Sharpton, and I think it was on Face the Nation, where he said something that the President Obama was contributing to the propaganda, encouraging the hate the police thing, and he talked about Al Sharpton, and he talked about how he's kind of a close advisor. And WAPO hit him, gave him the 4 Pinocchios on the fact check thing, and essentially said that he was way off base by saying that Al Sharpton is not advising the president and that the president's not complicit, blah, 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 blah. Well, he do some investigation, and they missed, WAPO and everyone else, missed the fact that since 2009, Al Sharpton has visited the White House on 72 occasions. More than Boehner, I believe.
And that shocks you, why?
It's just bizarre. The only person who visited more in that time was the head of the IRS when they were targeting the conservatives and the Tea Party. But I digress. 5 of them were one-on-one visits with the president. That's just at the White House. That's not if they met elsewhere at events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 20 meetings were with staff or senior members and advisors. And then the remainder of the meetings were public or group events, but that doesn't necessarily say that he doesn't have a few minutes with the president. That doesn't include phone calls, emails, all the other stuff. It begged the reality that Rudy Giuliani kind of has a point. You have Al Sharpton, who's MSNBC and running hate speech, and this is the guy who literally said about Sony Pictures that Hollywood is like the Rocky Mountains. The higher up you go, the wider it gets. That's Al Sharpton, and he's getting one-on-one time with the president and his advisors, and has been deemed some sort of bridge for the working lower middle class black man to the presidency. Meanwhile, this is a guy who had gang affiliations at some point. He's got tax evasion issues, back tax issues. He's been arrested a few times, I believe. The FBI actually almost got him, and they caused him to turn into a rat and a snitch in order to save his own carcass. That's who this guy is, and he's getting time with the president. And he's getting time with his advisors, and he has the hundreds of thousands of people that listen to the words that he says and takes it to heart. And this is the problem that I have right now with the way our society is because nobody's vetting him for who he is. Because he has the REV period in front of his name, and he...
Yeah, you can buy that online, right?
Yeah, I could be a reverend tomorrow if I wanted to be. But he, all of a sudden, and even people like Jesse Jackson and other race pimps and race baiters, has kind of fallen by the wayside. And Al Sharpton's become this modern leader, if you will. And I've seen people liken him to Dr. King and Malcolm X.
Which is disgusting.
Which is absolutely disgusting.
That he's likened to Dr. King.
But that's the kind of following he gets. And nobody sits down and takes him to task on it. He will not sit down with a conservative talk show host or a Mark Levin or a Rush Limbaugh or somebody else and have the conversation. They just keep throwing him in front of MSNBC and NBC and all the complicit news and news bites and all this other stuff and allow him to fuel this hate speech.
Well, not only that, but you have Sharpton, but you also have de Blasio and even Obama.
To a point, absolutely.
Who and Eric Holder, I mean, they have been so obviously anti-police during their tenure. And I think that it has laid the foundation for what we are seeing today. And the question here is, is there a war on police? And I think for a certain segment of the population,
there is.
There absolutely is. And you have this element now who is capable and willing to commit violence, murder, and they have come out because they feel again that their cause has been somehow legitimized, and these chants of what is it?
Massacre a Pig Night.
Massacre a Pig Night, where they're outwardly calling for the murder of police officers, and war has been declared by that segment. And let's think about how dangerous this is
for citizens.
For citizens, and here's why it matters to you, our listener. And we're not talking about a police state or oppressive laws or whatnot. And on the federal level, I would say there is obviously a major concern for federalizing a lot of law enforcement or whatnot because there is no constitutional authority to do so. Local and state law enforcement, different issue, right? 10th Amendment allows the states to create that, and if you don't like that particular atmosphere in your state, like Reagan said, you can vote with your feet.
Absolutely.
You can move to another state where there is less of that.
Onward and upward.
And we can have that debate. However, the Constitution, which is what we like to deal with here on this show, is federal law enforcement. There's nothing in the Constitution that allows for an FBI or a Department of Homeland Security or these other organizations.
Stupid name.
It is. But here's why it's important for and why the general public should be concerned about this war on police, or this perceived war on police. Law enforcement is going to be on heightened alert.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, right? They have to be. They know there is a segment of the population out there that wants to massacre a pig. They know that there are people out there that are actively engaged in setting up and attempting to set up ambushes of cops.
Mm-hmm.
What this does is it heightens an officer's level of sense of urgency. It heightens their awareness, which I understand that they're always on a heightened sense of awareness, but it's even ramped up even more so now, right? Well, it has always been a dangerous job. Law enforcement has always known that there have been people out there that want to kill them, but this is to a new extreme where there is an outward expression by a segment of the population to murder law enforcement. So what is the reaction of a law enforcement officer going to be if somebody, a citizen, gets out of their car, gets out of whatever, refuses to comply, is now reaching into a waistband, into a jacket, maybe they're balling up their hands. And with this atmosphere and these officers, look, they have to go home safe at the end of the night, and they have to use whatever force is reasonable to effect the arrest and also to defend their lives and the lives of anybody in the area. Look, with this rhetoric, it is easier for law enforcement to articulate a threat against their life even with somebody who turns out to be unarmed.
Mm-hmm.
I think this sets the stage for more tragedy.
It does.
And it's not the fault of law enforcement.
Mm-mm.
If somebody is non-compliant, or if somebody is walking up to the patrol car with their hands in their pockets and not complying with requests to show their hands, does an officer have to get shot at first prior to returning fire?
And look at what happened in Missouri, where the
No,
officer last week, where the officer was approaching the individual at the gas station, and the individual at the gas station pulled out his gun and shot at him, shot at the officer.
And there were still riots.
And there were still
protests.
Yes.
Right? So, and obviously that video shows how quickly things can happen in that world. And again, with this ramped up rhetoric, could we have additional tragedies, not because the police are mean and evil, but because it's a tragedy, the circumstances and the atmosphere created a sense that the officer needed to react to protect his or her life.
Mm-hmm.
And courts view it perception of the officer, right?
Absolutely.
The perception of the officer is what matters. And if an officer can articulate that they feared for their life, and they point to this rhetoric as an example, and they point to these ambushes as an example, and they point to the behavior of the person they shot as an example. This person wasn't showing their hands. They were approaching me from darkness with their hands in their pockets. I asked them to show their hands, to comply. They refused to comply. As they brought their hand, I shot them because they were not stopping,
mm-hmm.
and they turned out to be unarmed, and it's a tragedy.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But that officer's actions may be deemed reasonable based upon the totality of the circumstance. And we may have some listeners that disagree with that and don't think that it should be that way, but our officers do not have to come under fire before they return fire.
Well, and it's one of those things too. I look at it, and I think the average person has a disconnect. I know I certainly do. I think you have to look at it like if this was you type of situation. Say you worked in an office, and in that office you made a widget, and that widget upset people. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
And all of a sudden that office started getting all these different threats. And people were going crazy about it. These widgets, it's going to cause death, whatever. It doesn't matter. But now, you're getting groups calling for your death. You're getting groups randomly shooting at your building, shooting at your office, et cetera, all over Facebook calling for your death. And then when something gets done, good night, golf. When something gets done, like the New York thing, you have people who are tweeting and social media supporting it. Oh, thank God you shot that office. Those people need it, and that company needs to be, wings need to be put on the inventor, blah, 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 blah. Think about how that would affect your day-to-day work if you had to work in that office. And that's kind of how I look at it. Look at how the military is when they are overseas, when their base gets attacked. That sort of thing. They're always under fire. So you really have to look at it from the officer's point of view and the point of view of the citizens. If you have officers who are getting attacked left and right, and you're a private citizen, and you're walking down the street, and you're talking to that, imagine people are going to be afraid to talk to cops now because they're targets. Hey, normally I'd say hi to that guy, but he's going to get killed soon. I don't want to be anywhere around it. Things like that. This is the undoing of our society.
What about the level of service?
Yeah.
Right? You have several agencies are saying, hey, 2 officers minimum per call for everything.
Yep, New York is on that now.
Yeah, so what may have been a 1-officer call to handle something simple, well, now guess what? You have to wait.
And look at the waste of resources. I mean, the amount of finances.
Yeah, you now have to wait until a second officer basically can clear, and the 2 can go to the call together.
And if you're in a big city like Boston, New York, L.A., that could be hours before they finally get something. So you have to look at the overall impact. This isn't just an emotional response, and this just isn't calling awareness to. This is our police officers, like many of other first responders, are the very stitching that holds the fabric of this nation together in a lot of ways. They are the line in the sand. If you've ever had to call 911, and I've had to do it, and wait for the police to come in a bad situation, you understand how important they are. If you've ever, seen a victim or seen a crime in progress or something like that, you realize how important they are. And to make the assumption that every person that puts on a uniform puts it on with the intent of going out to execute a young black male because of 2 incidents is the same as the assumption would be because 2 black guys robbed a store that every black guy is a criminal. It is just as prejudice as saying that. Those words alone, the amount of retribution that you would get if you in a public setting said something like that is insane. But we are giving a pass to these idiots who are fueling this fire, none of which care who Michael Brown was, none of which care about Carver. They don't give a damn about those people. They are looking for a reason to be able to commit a crime and once again not be responsible for it, but they can blame the movement, they can blame the incident. It comes down to the lack of personal responsibility and ducking the responsibility. And that, to me, is the most pathetic excuse for human beings on the face of the planet. You need to stand up, and I said New York, and I'll say it again, the people of New York City need to be protesting at City Hall, getting de Blasio to resign, not because every cop that puts on the uniform is a perfect human being, but the 98% that are need to know that the citizens who really, really appreciate what they do have their back, and to send a message to these scumbags that if you go out there and you attempt to kill a cop, or what, society will not stand for that. And we as a nation will not stand for that. And you can have the Vice President de Blasio give you all the lip service in the world when it comes down to this.
But that's why it's happening more and more, right? Mm-hmm. Because the rhetoric of those in major leadership positions in this country have essentially alluded to the fact that they will stand for it. They can say words. How quickly was the president giving an on-camera statement about the Brown incident?
Yeah.
Or Garner, right? How quickly was he on? Has he given an on-camera?
Well, what about Trayvon?
Has he given an on-camera statement?
Or the incident with the
has he given an on-camera statement about the situation here?
Not that I've seen.
Not at all.
And there's a problem.
So you know what? The message is we will stand for it.
Yeah.
Has Eric Holder given an on-camera statement?
Has the DOJ and Eric Holder sent out the FBI to maybe assist law enforcement in protecting themselves in some way, shape, or form? Hey, you know what? We'll sit inside your station and make sure nobody comes in and shoots you. Something, some sort of assistance, some sort of hand of goodwill. We care about you. We care about your lives, and you have the full resources of the federal government, just like they get for every other incident that they want to support. You have the full resources of the federal government.
Yeah, you know what? When a grand jury doesn't indict and the facts show that the officer acted appropriately, we will not put them through additional stress and turmoil by launching another investigation. How's that?
Yeah.
How's that for helping?
Anything.
Hey, Eric. Buddy, friend, pal, Eric, little Holder poo. Pookums. Sweetness. Hey, if the facts show that the officer was wrong, if the facts show the officer assassinated somebody, if the facts show that the officer singled somebody out and executed them based on their race, you should do an investigation.
Right.
That officer should be held accountable. But jackass, if the investigation shows that they were proper, they acted in a reasonable fashion, that their actions did not warrant indictment, then back off, you jackass.
I completely agree.
You piece of garbage.
Yeah. No, just back away.
With all due respect.
Absolutely. A great
Which
question
is
in the chat
very
room
little.
by one of our guests. How can the average American citizen help this situation? Call your congressman.
Yeah, I would say you know what? Just say thank you. Say thank you. Say thank you to the cops. And when this type of violence happens, I think we need more voices at the citizen level to stand up and say this is unacceptable, because we don't have that.
Let's talk about a couple of different ways, and I agree. And I know we have to lock up the segment, but you can thank the police, and you can take to the streets and protest. You can write letters to editorials and newspapers. You could do one of the big petitions they have on WhiteHouse.gov. Call for the resignation of
the president,
De Blasio, the president, etc. Al Sharpton. You can get involved in all the different movements that support liberty, but also support the laws and nations of this country.
For something like this, it has to be grassroots. I think if enough American citizens show... Look, how many people do you hear of? And we hear it all the time. And you and I have friends that are in law enforcement, and we hear the stories. And how many times do people bitch and complain about, that officer was such a jerk because he gave me a ticket? Why'd he give you a ticket? Because I was doing 80 in a 65.
But he shouldn't have given me the ticket.
Right.
Every ticket I got, I've earned.
Look, I understand that the cops are not in a... it's not Burger King. You can't have it your way.
You don't even get a nice Burger King.
They're kind of like dad. They tell you when you do something wrong, right?
And that's the only time you ever really hear from them. That's the only time
you ever really hear from, which is kind of bad, I guess, right? But say thank you. Show the support. And again, I think if more citizens showed the support and show that the support outnumbers the other, I think you would see a shift in the political climate.
I also think that if you start going after your state, local senators, federal...
not going after them in the attack.
No, with emails, phone calls, faxes, and telling them that you want the president held responsible, you want the DOJ held accountable. You want them to come out and make a statement how they feel in the situation. Get them on record so you know who you're voting for, and get the shift. Get people to support the laws of this nation, the laws of your state, your county, your city, because that's where you live, and that's what needs to be adhered.
I don't even know what you just said. That was just like a... You had to get... I know the door is closed. Like 2 minutes.
It's the end of the segment. Sorry. When we come back, we're not going to jump too far from the subject because we're going to discuss...
We're stuff. Don't say it because you're going to jump into another segment that's not on the board.
Back in 3.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying capitalists
Night.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sako as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Hit down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life and military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on 405radio.com.
You're listening to the Andrea Kaye Show. Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be, when any child who comes across
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. But obviously he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show. Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Lowell Arn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Earlier it's noted that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution don't read rather quickly. Consider the objection against titles and nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, which is not so outdated. The purpose of the objection is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The current capitalism, so common today, is a place where the government bestows fabulous tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
I got a text message from a listener who's a personal friend of mine. How can the average citizen help the police? Buy them donuts. So, you know, gratitude, goodwill, I guess.
That's what they meant, right?
Right.
Do you know how trivia? And don't ask me how I know this. Do you know how the whole donut shop thing got started? Like the cop donut thing?
No, tell me.
So, I guess way back in the Stone Age, I don't know. Obviously, there weren't a lot of 24-hour restaurants and whatnot. So the cops who would work the night shift, the only place open to get a cup of coffee
was a donut shop.
Was the donut shop? Yeah. So they would. Do you remember Winchell's?
No.
Did they have that on the East
Dunkin'
Coast?
Donuts.
So they would go into the donut shop and grab a donut and a cup of coffee and write their reports.
Interesting.
And so that's how the whole donut thing got started. You'd go by the donut shop and see all the cop cars parked there.
Yeah, well, I think it's more prevalent on the East Coast because it's so damn cold outside.
What, donuts?
Yeah.
Why? Because only cold people eat donuts?
Yeah, absolutely. And Ken.
And Ken eats donuts. So he's not cold? Why?
Not
because
at all.
these people hail from
He's
Africa?
got the warmest
Listen,
heart that you could possibly imagine.
is that what you meant?
Absolutely. Kind of staying on the same subject.
But not really. So, the President Obama had an interview on NPR. And NPR is a very conservative outlet. What?
Nothing. I thought there was another punchline.
No. And in his interview, he brings up a couple interesting points. One is he says that so Obama has, I don't want to call him a race baiter, but he's kind of,
he ain't helping.
He hasn't helped things, right? But he says in his interview that he thinks that in the last 40 years or so that race relations have improved, which was shocking to me.
Okay.
that he actually admitted that.
Mm-hmm.
He says that it's less racially divided now than when he was elected.
Is this President Obama?
This is President
Oh,
Obama.
that's cute.
Yeah. He was asked if the U.S. is more racially divided now than when he took office, because that has been a criticism of the president, right? That his policies and some of the things he said has racially divided the country more. And his quote is, "No, I actually think it's probably, in its day-to-day interactions, less racially divided."
Really?
Yep. Quote, "It's understandable the polls might say, that race relations have gotten worse, because when it's in the news and you see something like Ferguson or the Garner case in New York, then it attracts attention." Hey, way to throw Ferguson and Garner out there again.
Well, you better throw that out because you support it.
Absolutely. So good job. He says, "But I assure you, from the perspective of African Americans or Latinos in poor communities who've been dealing with this all their lives, they wouldn't suggest somehow that it's worse now than it was 10, 15, or 20 years ago."
Oh, how cute. How cute. So it's only better for white people?
No, he says he said they wouldn't suggest that it's worse now.
Oh.
So he thinks that they think it's better as well.
Uh-huh.
That just seems to run contrary to some of the other things he's said.
That's so weird when it's appropriate to him what he says versus when it's...
But the evidence shows that he can't really say that it's worse, even though it is, but we're racially divided, but it's better now. Does he even know?
No. I think he has a wheel of facts. That's kind of like
the wheel of facts.
They're not even really facts, but just a whole bunch of just different facts that he wants to be true on a wheel. And when he gets asked a question, he just spins it. Nope, less racial division. Next. Oh. Okay, because everything you've said to the contrary with Trayvon and all the other stuff and the Cambridge police and how much you've loved to throw yourself into race issues and stuff like that has suggested otherwise. Yeah, no, I'm saying it's not as bad now. Well, unless you're black or Hispanic.
Right.
And then it's not great. And they'll tell you it's different. But it's not bad. I got to make sure that I make everybody happy with this speech versus give my honest opinion. So I'm going to say that it's better. And that way the conservatives leave me alone. And I'm going to say that it's better unless you are.
No, I'm going to say it's better now because I've been in office for 6 years, so obviously it's better. Because I made it better.
Everything I touch turns to gold.
Right, 10 years ago it was, but I've been president for 6 of those 10 years, so that's what? 6 out of 10 years, so that's like 80% of that time.
Minus 2.
So 6 out of 10, 80% of the time I've been there. Mr. President, that's only 60%. Listen, don't check my math. I got FBI guys that said it's 80%.
All right, listen, I'm going to go with 5 out of 8 times. You're still in the same ballpark. Okay. Where would I win? Give me a number that makes me look good, and that's the one I'm going to go with.
Mr. President, you're answering the question here, not me.
How about 36%? No, wait, that's my approval rating.
You're going to be investigated. Not by the FBI, because I wanted to get it right.
Right. Oh, that's Common Core for you, folks.
I thought that was interesting. I thought that was interesting that he threw Garner in there and Ferguson in there, and then.
Well, yeah, he has to throw the buzzwords. Question. He's connected to the people. He's of the people. Haven't you realized this yet?
I didn't realize that Obama. Now everybody knows that we like linguistics here on this show, and kind of the history of certain words and whatnot. What do you? I don't. When you get up and walk around the room, I start getting nervous.
No. You're fine.
And you start rewiring things like microphones. Listen, folks, if our sound cuts off, Sean is trying to rewire something, and I don't know what he's doing specifically.
Oh, what better time than to work on the ship than when you're at sea? You know
right,
what I'm saying?
Right.
What's there, a hull breach? Yeah, let's just deal with that now. We're 45 miles from nearest land. Yeah, let's cut it open. That's me, buddy. Just always ready to go. I'm always about production.
No, you nailed it. No, you were. Look, Obama, the term Obama is actually from the Latin root word jalapeno.
There's a lot of Latin root words that come from that.
Meaning straight shooter.
Straight shooter.
So I don't know if many folks know that or not.
Not a straight shooter.
No, just straight shooter.
Just straight shooter.
Right, it's kind of like a nickname.
Right. Has anyone ever said that about the president other than Chris Matthews? Oh, you know what the best part is about this guy? He's a real straight shooter.
Oh, yeah, it's in his name, Obama. We just went through this. You can fact check me if you want. I mean, there's no need to.
I wouldn't. I mean, come on. It's pretty much a done deal.
Here's the scary part, though. The race relations thing I just kind of thought was interesting. What really had me concerned, there was a story through Reuters on Monday, and Obama basically says that Iran, quote, has a chance to get it right with the world, and that, in his words, Iran could become a, quote, very successful regional power. And
if we get rid of the current government, I think that would be great.
Why that scares me.
Only one reason?
Yeah, lots of reasons. If Iran becomes a very successful regional power, their stated goal is to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. They believe their power is not, their ideology is not politically motivated.
What?
Their ideology is
religiously motivated.
It's not political. It's philosophical. It's ideological. They believe that the 12th Imam is coming, and the way that the 12th Imam comes is through fire. Big old fiery explosion. And they want this. They want the 12th Imam to come. They believe that in their ideology to spread peace throughout the Muslim world and whatnot. And the way they do that is to wipe Israel off the face of the earth through a nuclear weapon.
No.
Why the heck would you want Iran to be a very successful regional power? And why is nobody reporting on this?
Well, and here's the funniest part about it is, you know what? Iran would be a great regional power if they got rid of their current government and they went to a democratic system, and or any government that doesn't believe that Israel should be wiped off the face of the planet. Iran used to be a stable nation back before, I don't know, the Shah fell and what's their faces took over there. And I can't believe that I just had that issue, but I did. And they used to be a democratic nation, and they used to be prosperous, and they used to be a positive influence in the region for the most part. And we can go back and argue a few things here and there, but that's fine. But when you hope that Iran, under their current government, is possible to be a leader region, a leader in the region, to me is insane.
Let me read you the whole quote here, because the insane part is what what the president himself prefaces this with. Quoting here, and this is the full transcript from NPR. You can look it up on NPR News. Tehran is a large, sophisticated country that has a track record of state-sponsored terrorism, that we know was attempting to develop a nuclear weapon, or at least the component parts that would be required to develop a nuclear weapon, that has engaged in disruptions to our allies, whose rhetoric is not only explicitly anti-American, but also has been incendiary when it comes to its attitude towards the state of Israel. And I see what he did there. Incendiary, meaning inflammatory as well as literally blowing them up in a ball of fire with a nuclear weapon. So that was very clever play on words there, Mr. President. He continues.
What you did there.
He continues. So there's a lot of history there that's different than the history between us and Cuba. And the strategic importance of Tehran is, or Iran, is different from what we face with Cuba. Now, here's where he gets interesting. So he understands that he basically lays the foundation. Hey, I understand Tehran. Yeah, they sponsor terrorism and they try to develop a nuke, and they really hate America and Israel. But they could be a very successful regional power. Why would you want that country to be a very successful nuclear power? But I digress. Here he says, having said that, he says, if we can get a deal on making sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and that deal is possible, we know the terms of what that would look like. If Iran recognizes that it is in its own interest, having already said that they're actually not interested in developing a nuclear weapon, to go ahead and prove that to the world, so that over time it's verified, sanctions are removed, their economy begins to grow, they're reintegrated into the international community. If we can take that big first step, then my hope would be that would serve as the basis for us trying to improve relations over time.
Oh, that is so nice.
What? Mr. President, you just laid out the exact specific indictment of Iran as a dangerous sponsor of terrorism, trying to develop a nuclear weapon, who hates America and wants Israel gone. You laid that out in that paragraph that I read previously, that I quoted you on.
Well, if we could just get that Jeffrey Dahmer to stop killing people, he could be a productive member of society.
Yes! This is the logic. And how do you strike a deal with a country who is not bargaining or dealing from a political standpoint? They are dealing from an ideological standpoint. A deeply held religious belief in their ideology that this is what they need to accomplish to bring about the coming of the 12th Imam.
Yeah.
How is this a good idea? Well, look, they said that we're not actually interested in developing a nuclear weapon, and we recognize that it's in our own interest to stop. So, hey, we want to prove that to you, so over time you can verify that we didn't actually do it. And then you can remove your sanctions, and our economy will begin to grow.
Oh.
And then we'll be reintegrated into the international community.
Oh, that's so nice.
How is this not being reported on?
Because I'll tell you why. A lot of people realize how insane this is and don't want to put that up because...
Where's the media on this, though? I'm surprised NPR put this up.
Nowhere.
But, I guess how many people follow NPR?
I'm not shocked at all that NPR put this up, and let me tell you why. If the president just went out and said, no matter what the president says, NPR is going to get behind because they're so complicit, and honestly, he pays the bills, which is kind of a big deal.
No. You and I pay the bills.
Well, yeah, but
there's public funds that NPR
but it gets
gets
approved, through Washington. So
George?
Yes. Well, that's what they get paid with.
No, Martha
Washington. But you have to realize that they're so complicit, and they're like a lot of other strands of media. They're going to go with whatever the president says because they just love everything he says, and they're going to turn it into what they believe is a positive. And it really is just a sad state of affairs that we're in. And look, if you don't realize that the likes of NPR, the ilk, if you will, are essentially going to cheerlead and oral copulate everything that comes out of his mouth.
You mean orally speak, orally capitulate,
whatever.
Capitulate. I think you said something else.
It doesn't matter. You've missed the boat, and we go back to mainstream media, and I hate to keep beating a dead horse, but mainstream media constantly just does whatever this administration says. And even when you when you look at Benghazi and you look at the other things, when you think that they're going to start hitting and attacking like we expect them to and pushing it back.
Are you talking about Iran?
No. Mainstream media.
Okay, sorry.
They show flashes where they're like, "Oh, we have to protect our credibility a little bit, so we're going to hit you on Benghazi and all the obvious stuff and the Tea Party stuff." But we're not going to follow through with it. We're just going to get a couple sound bites so we can point back and say, "Oh no, we're middle of the road and we just report the facts." Reality is what it is. They're just in the pocket, and their pockets are in the president's pockets. So it's that's where the money comes from. In their point of view, even though we pay the taxes, the president and politicians distribute it on our behalf. That's nice of them, and they sink.
That is nice of them.
They sink so much money into NPR. What are they going to do? Hit them on it, Mr. President? By the way, thanks for the raise last year. Hey, I have a problem with your Iran state. Where are you going? No. Please come back and sit down. Damn it. That's pretty much what would happen. Or they're just going to change this up. They're not doing their job. And when he says ridiculous things like this, they're not sitting there waiting to pick it apart and be like, wait a minute. Isn't this a little crazy? This is the people that want to blow our ally up. And I get it that you haven't been a big supporter of our ally over the few years, but that's you personally. As a nation, we still very much support Israel. And how can you make a statement like this with good conscience? Now, if you wanted to come out, like I said earlier, and say, well, you know what, if we can get the regime to change and we can install a government that actually listens to the people and does the bidding of the people and is respectful to their neighbors, et cetera, then yes, I would support an Iran that is a leader in the region. And I would support an Iran that can be productive. But he doesn't say anything like that. He never says anything like that. He won't come out. What's the biggest thing that he said against Putin? A whole bunch of nanny boo-boo. He'll come out against cops. He'll come out against anybody else who he feels is an easy target. But reality is he doesn't hit hard when it comes to, and again, this shows you what a weakling he is on foreign policy. And he doesn't hit it where it needs to get hit. And send the message to the other nations, the rogue nations, if you will, that are the problem causers. That's just how I view it.
I agree. Later on in the interview, a little bit later on, he's talking about Iran still. He says, Iran suffered from a terrible war with Iraq, in which millions of their countrymen were lost. They have legitimate defense concerns, but those have to be separated out from the adventurism, the support of organizations like Hezbollah, the threats they've directed towards Israel. And so on one hand, you need to understand what their legitimate needs and concerns are. On the other, you don't need to tolerate or make excuses for positions that they've taken that violate international law, are contrary to U.S. interests, are contrary to the interests of our allies. They've got a chance to get right with the world. This is not just about us.
No, it kind of is sometimes.
What?
Well, first of all, I want him to come out and admit when it is about us, because he never seems to really care what we want. It's always about what's better for everybody else in the international community. And I'm sorry, I hate to be the guy who says this all the time, but I could give a rat's ass about a majority of the international community until we straighten our crap out here. And part of that is going to be through an American leadership that believes in America and believes in exceptionalism and calls out the scumbags in other countries that are a threat to their neighbors and our allies. Russia, North Korea, Iran, China to a point. All of those things need to be addressed, and he just won't do it. He has zero stones when it comes to foreign policy. I apologize, folks. And that's the tragedy here. Once again, it's a president who just believes in us being just this one nation in the entire world, this world order of, and I hate saying New World Order and sounding like a lunatic, but this whole one country, one people, one world type thing where the UN is great and everybody else sucks, and world courts and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of this is who this president is. And when he gives speeches like he did here on NPR, it shows you exactly who he is. He believes that the lunatics running Iran should be a leader in that region and have nukes. He believes that. He just said he believes that. How much more frightening can that possibly be? And if you're going to turn around and say, well, he shouldn't have to say a regime change, I mean, that's kind of a gimme, you're an apologist. Because he didn't call for it. He didn't call them out. He didn't, at any way, shape, or form, hold them accountable for their actions over the last couple years. He gives them all the credit in the world when they try to help out with Iraq and all the other stuff, and, oh, they're being good partners, blah, 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 blah. But they are not going out and going after the individuals who are the problems in this world.
And what are you gonna do? Are you gonna lift the sanctions and? Well, you know what? You promised that you weren't going to get a weapon, and so that's okay. Just you use it for your energy, and we're going to be all good. Does he really? Is he so naive that he really believes that they are not going to complete a nuclear weapon?
We just want power. So did North Korea. Remember what a huge power North Korea when North Korea just wanted it for power. Was that?
I remember when North Korea was a huge superpower.
Well, no. When they wanted their nuclear, when they wanted their nuclear facilities for power, and look at a power map from the satellites where they show you everything else that's lit up, and look at North Korea. They have nukes, but there ain't a damn light on after 8 o'clock unless it's in Kim Jong-un's refrigerator. Again, let us not give too much clout to people who lie consistently as a nation and to us. And really, when our president is making excuses once again, instead of hitting the people that deserve to get hit, it is a sad state of affairs in this. And that's that segment, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back here in 3 minutes, we're going to talk about the upcoming speaker vote in the House, and as well as a interesting ruling that looks like the condom lobby won. So we'll be back here in 3 on the Sackheads Radio Show here on the SHR Media Network.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio. The best late night conservative talk show in America. And in the U.S. was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And we're back here on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, make sure you check out some of our partners. Pundit Press, the amazing Dan Butcher and company over there at Pundit Press with such great shows on Pundit Press Radio. But their written articles are amazingly informative and spot on. If you have a chance, make sure you check out Pundit Press. Unbelievable friends, unbelievable partners, and unbelievable writers. They really hit it home. This portion of the program has been brought to you by Patriot Ordnance Factory Firearms, POF-USA.com, the finest in AR-15 platform rifles. Make sure you check them out. If you need to protect your home, if you just need to add another gun to the closet, if you will, into the safe, you want to check out POF USA. Also check out their tomahawks. They have some amazing artwork on their website. Really, really amazing people. And also check out our amazing friends over at windrockwealth.com. Chris Casey and the group over there. You have some investment needs, some investment questions. You want to start investing your money in wise ways for the future to make yourself put yourself up in a good situation to retire. You want to check them out. So go to windrockwealth.com and check them out as well. So conservatives are going to vote here very shortly for the Speaker of the House. And
well, the whole House is going to vote.
Well, right. Okay. So, like I said, conservatives.
Did you know did you know the Speaker does not have to be a member of Congress?
No, I did not know that.
Show me in the Constitution where it says the Speaker of the House has to be an active member.
No, I did not know that. So does that mean we can just nominate anyone to be Speaker
I nominate
of the House?
Sackhead Sean.
Speaker of the House. Hey, a-holes. Let's do some legislating. Of course I'm drunk. Why would you even ask that? You bunch of blowhards.
Oh, that's great.
Can you picture me up there just, what? No, I'm on my phone. You're the sergeant of what? Get out of here, kid. Come on. You're screwing with me, right? No, I don't have to be quiet. You have to be quiet. Who's got the gavel?
I have the gavel.
It doesn't matter whose gavel it is. I have it. That's what's important, right? Now, go get me a donut or something. I hear you guys know where to get all the good ones. So we're going to vote for, or they're going to vote for a new Speaker of the House, and there are rumblings that Speaker Boehner may not pass the test, so to speak.
Boner, you forget where you are.
Boner.
So Alex Pappas from the Daily Caller wrote this article, and apparently there are some conservatives, and if you remember when Boner was originally elected, there were like 8 people or something like that spoke out against him. Right? They nominated somebody else.
Oh, yeah, 8 people speak up against the Boner.
Well, there's a push now to try to get a solid block of about 30 conservatives to name somebody other than Boner as Speaker in the public vote. And if that happens, then Boner would not have the majority he would need, and so they would have to nominate other people, and the thought is he might actually just drop out.
That would be so awesome.
In which case they would nominate somebody else.
It would be better than to see Boner drop.
On your face.
No, because he's heavy, and I don't want to get all that tanning solution on me.
And that's like that fake tan on
it is. It's orange, right? It's not even a good tan.
It's horrible.
But listen, imagine, look at what this says. And if this vote goes that way, and Boner is not reelected as Speaker, and they go with somebody else, Trey Gowdy, excuse me, think about what that says about the conservatives we voted in. And it shows you how important it is to have movements like we did in 2014 with the elections and getting real principled leaders in there. They don't want to deal with Boner anymore. They don't want to deal with this wishy-washy, middle of the road, do what's good for him type of leader in the House. And I really hope that the Senate does the same thing with McConnell. Because, people assume he's a shoo-in to be the majority leader. And there are other people there that could do it. And I think this is something that we need to continue that push. We did that vote, the midterm, for a reason. We pushed for a reason. Conservatives won for a reason. And that we need to continue to listen to the nation and listen to our true conservatives in office when they push for things like this, and understand that our country can continue to do better than what we're doing. And 2014 was a big referendum on progressivism. It was a big referendum on Obama. It was a big referendum on Obamacare and a lot of the other real big progressive movements, as well as what happened in Benghazi, et cetera, et cetera. We need to keep that momentum, and everyone just makes this assumption that, hey, once the elections are over, these guys are installed, everything's going to be okay, and it's not. Speaker has a very, very big...
That is an inappropriate pause.
Roll
just
very big
know
role in our government and how our country works.
That was such an inappropriate pause.
It was like last week when I said that you're a holly jolly you really enjoy Christmas. And great statement in the chat room right now is Americans are longing for real leadership. And on the House, right now, we as conservatives, we have the House and the Senate, and we need to install true leaders in there that will lead both those institutions in the right direction, the direction that the country needs to go.
I see what you did there.
Thank you very much.
Right
and Boner and McConnell are not those guys. And, we said before... it doesn't mean that you have to have somebody who's standoffish with the president. It doesn't mean you have to have somebody that has...
No, but somebody who has good conservative principles.
Good principles in general. Somebody of principle. Let's just say that.
Boner has shown that he's not. Do you remember before he became Speaker of the House? I'm going to post a bill 3 days so the American people can read it. There will be surprise. It's going to be awesome. We're completely transparent. Well, what did he do with this last...
Yeah. Hey, you guys look that way. I mean, he essentially ran a counterplay. It was like a Statue of Liberty.
But not really, because even that's about freedom.
Right.
Although it was a gift from the French, so.
Oh, man.
So maybe it was like a Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, every once in a while. Anyhow. It's one of those things that he has not done what he said he's going to do. And when a politician doesn't do what he says he's going to do, it's the job of the American people or those voting to replace him with somebody who is. And that's an amazing comment in the chat room. I agree. We are looking for real leaders, and we need to continue looking for real leaders.
And real leaders equal principled leaders.
Absolutely.
We've said that
time and again.
Bunch of times
Can't say it enough.
So here's the thing. Last time they tried this, there were some reps that said, well, yes, I'll vote for somebody else other than Boner, and then they feared retribution, so they basically left these 8 or whatever that actually voted against him kind of hanging out to dry. So the fear is there's going to be some of that again. So who's really going to hold up their no vote or their voting for somebody else? They were asked, hey, is there going to be repercussion for members who vote against Boner? And Boner said, well, no.
Well, why would there be?
Of course not.
Repercussions.
There'll be no punishment for those who don't support me in a public vote.
Now, the whip, until I'm officially out, the whip's actually going to be carrying a legitimate whip. And
because that's his title.
That's his title, so he's going to have that. But there's going to be no retributions for this whatsoever.
Right. Flogging is not retribution.
Right.
We looked it up, and
it's just S&M.
And since they really like to go by old-timey constitutional stuff, they used to flog back in those days. So then there's that. Any questions?
But it begs you the question of who would be the next House leader and who would be a good House leader. And I say
Sackhead Sean.
Sackhead Sean. And if he's not available, I have a busy schedule.
Sackhead Clint.
Sackhead Clint. No, I look at somebody like Trey Gowdy. I look at somebody who is not afraid to stand up to the administration, is not afraid to stand up to his own party, he's not afraid to say, and he's intelligent. And I
have a name.
Yeah.
I have a name, and people would lose their minds.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah Palin. Now, why do you laugh? Because she's a woman?
No.
What is this with war on women?
Because people would
you?
Absolutely go insane.
Would they not lose their minds?
Oh, man, would they lose it.
I challenge one representative, and
To nominate?
I know you listen to this show.
At least one.
I'm talking to one in particular.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh, okay.
yeah, now you get it.
The light went on.
I challenge you to, during the public vote, say Sarah Palin.
Or Sackhead Sean.
Or Sackhead Sean. Or the Sackheads. Show me
general.
the Constitution where it says it cannot be a joint speakership role.
Can you imagine?
But I challenge you to say Sarah Palin.
I think that's a great challenge. It'll never happen, but
We'll see.
It's an amazing, amazing challenge.
We'll see.
You know, like I said, I don't care.
I have another story to get to.
I know, but I don't
It's
care.
my favorite one of the night.
I know it is because it's you. I don't
It's
care.
not me.
I don't care who the person is. I just want them to be a true leader. I want them to have discourse in a positive way with the administration. I want them to actually be able to stand up for what the country needs and move us in the right direction.
I want to send them to stand up for conservative principles.
Yeah. And like I said before, they can be friendly with the administration and still be productive. We've seen that in the past. And so we don't need to vote for somebody who's just standoffish to be standoffish. We need to vote for somebody who's going to lead and be successful.
Closing the door on that segment. Yeah, you don't need to actually do it. So, I want to lay the foundation for this story. This is a very important First Amendment story.
No, nothing but the Constitution here, folks.
That's right. Look, this is a freedom of speech story. The case was actually heard in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the federal district, which is on the left coast. And to give some background to this case, it's a very important legal precedent, potentially. In 2012, Los Angeles County voters passed a law that required condoms to be worn in X-rated films, filmed in Los Angeles, in the county. There were Vivid Entertainment, I guess the big pornography distributor and entertainment company, sued. Basically, they wanted that enforcement halted because they claimed it violated their rights under the First Amendment. Because apparently wearing a condom in porn, or not wearing a condom in porn, they felt is freedom of speech. Now, I've seen one or two of these movies, and I don't know how much speech is really going on. But I'm trying to follow the logic here.
It's really hard to hear through the amazing music.
Right. Hi, I'm here to fix your wash machine. And that's pretty much the only line in the movie. I'm pretty sure in like all of them.
All of them? There's just one writer that does
There's
them all.
one writer that does them all.
Guy makes a killing.
Okay, here's your line. I'm here to fix your wash machine. Oh no, this one is DVD. I'm here to fix your DVD.
I'm here to fix your washo machine. Do it again. Damn. Okay. I'm here to fix your Osher machine.
So
take a break.
So the Ninth Circuit said no.
What?
Yeah, it's not speech.
No.
Not wearing a condom is not speech.
No.
As protected by the First Amendment. Which is...
This is just ridiculous.
No, this is a real story.
I know, it's just ridiculous.
Susan Graber, which is even better. It's probably pronounced Graber, but under this story I'm saying it Grabber. Here's a quote from the Ninth Circuit judge, Susie, little Susie. Whatever unique message plaintiffs might intend to convey by depicting condomless sex, it is unlikely that viewers of adult films will understand that message. So hang on a second. Now, I was okay with the ruling until you basically said that people that watch porn are stupid.
What? It's hard to get the whole message in 30 seconds.
Right!
Well, Who's watching it from the free speech aspect? Come on.
Hang on. To determine whether conduct is protected by the First Amendment, we ask not only whether someone intended to convey a particular message through that conduct, but also whether there is a great likelihood the message would be understood by those who viewed it. Here we agree with the district trial court that whatever unique message plaintiffs might intend to convey by depicting condomless sex, it is unlikely viewers of adult films will understand that message. So, condomless sex is not the relevant expression for First Amendment purposes. Instead, the relevant expression is more generally the adult film's erotic message. So that's the part I agree with, not the part that people who view porn don't understand the First Amendment or the message.
So who sits down and learns a lesson about First Amendment?
Who cares about speech when they're watching it?
I just. Are
you thinking about
like my teenage years when you found Dad's Playboy, and you're like, dude, you would not believe the First Amendment speech going on here on page 19.
Right. Right.
You know who's behind this? The condom lobby. They got to them. They got to the judges. Because
this is clearly an issue where a huge lobbying
thing
got to the judges.
Can you imagine, and I know this is just crazy, we might as well go as crazy as we can with this subject because it's already off the rails. Can you imagine if you found out that like Trojan paid off the judges like $500,000 to make this ruling? And that like it was so they had to keep getting the free advertisement from people who were watching porn with the condoms on. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, listen, if the North Korea can hack Sony, anything's possible, right? I mean, all bets are off. It's sad that our judicial system gets bogged down with this sort of subject.
So, speaking of condoms, we're in the wrap-up segment. It just fits. Sometimes it's a little tight.
Before we attack the end of the show, we're going to wrap it up. I'm so glad nobody listens to this part of the show.
Are you kidding me? This is my favorite part.
Everybody knows.
I've been giggling to myself like a school kid.
Since you came up with the topic.
Since I came up with this topic. I've been waiting to talk about this.
Best part about this is I know most people get to 9:45 and go, yeah, I don't want to listen to this part. Because it just goes downhill dramatically fast.
We haven't had a douchebag of the week yet.
We have not had a douchebag of the week.
Who's your nomination for douchebag of the week?
Going with de Blasio again.
Why?
For his comments after the funerals, for his comments still about how he will go after the NYPD for going after him by turning their backs, but he still has yet to speak out about the protesters. And he's had several opportunities to do so and directly speak out against them. And he could have taken a coward's way out and said, hey, you know what? Mm-hmm. You have the right to protest, but stop threatening my cops and stop threatening your cops. And really turn this into you want to make this a positive, make it a positive. It's your opportunity to do it, and I challenge you to do it. Nothing of the sort.
You don't have to yell at me.
And so he's getting it for 2 weeks in a row as de Blasio.
All right, well, my douchebag of the week nominee is the FBI. We're going to take it out of your ass.
It's coming out of your ass.
That's my douchebag of the week. So how are we going to reconcile this?
We could have soccer.
Matchup.
Bill de Blasio versus the FBI.
I take de Blasio.
A fight to the decision.
I take de Blasio.
I do too. I think he can slap harder.
Yeah.
Instead of matchup, we could have slap up.
It's who do you take? Do you take the communist or do you take the nerds and pocket protectors? I don't know.
You know what's going to be great? When the nerds and pocket protectors finally catch up to us.
That's good.
Because you know they're up the road in a van listening right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like those rat bastards.
Right.
How dare they? It's taxes. We don't just go after, that's all we got one of our biggest arrests for, which was, Capone was tax evasion. Oh, okay.
Oh, the IRS does that now.
Oh, yeah, so we don't need to do that because they have their own law enforcement. What do we do, Bob? I don't know.
Bank robberies.
Right. Which, as you have pointed out in the past, should be a Department of Treasury thing.
Right.
And therefore, we've said before, and you break it down, the FBI could easily not exist tomorrow.
Right.
And there'd be no loss of services.
Well, they do intelligence.
Sure they do.
They one thing the feds have screwed up. Like, except for Ruby Ridge.
Okay.
Except for Waco.
Okay.
Except for existing. Except for North Korea.
9/11.
Listen.
What?
I said except for.
Oh. No, I think that's good. I picture 25 nerds with ties and short sleeve shirts showing up and clip-on ties and like bad wingtips, and all of them are shined. All of them are shined perfectly. And then you have de Blasio waddle in, and they all just start like stretching their wrists because they're going to slap it out. You know it's going to be a hell of a slap fest. There's going to be pocket protectors and racial allegations being thrown all over that arena. And it's going to turn... Have you ever seen Anchorman?
Yes.
Have you ever seen the fight scene?
Yes.
It's going to be the opposite of that.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a group of like 9-year-olds fight? It's going to be more like that. That's kind of how I see that going down. And I'm going to take de Blasio with a slap to win. I think that's going to be my final numbers on that. De Blasio with the slap.
All right, so then in that case, douchebag of the week goes to de Blasio.
Okay.
Again.
De Blasio it is.
Because if he wins matchup, he gets the douchebaggery award.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And once again, the FBI still can't get their man. Oh, man, I love being on watch list. So, you know, New Year's resolution, do you have any?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a resolution.
Awesome.
What about yours?
Well, you know, I'm getting sick of the fat jokes. And I mean that. Not sick because they're not funny.
Just because they're freaking hilarious.
Because they are absolutely hysterical, don't get me wrong. But you know what? I'm kind of sick of being a little obese, legally obese, according to my doctor. What the hell does he know?
He's a West Coast douchebag.
Yeah.
Douchebag of the week, Sean's doctor.
Sorry, Dr. Ben.
Last of Dover.
Last of Dover.
You are getting older.
Not yet. Still 3 years from that. Trust me, I have that marked in my calendar as when I'm going to flee the country.
Or switch to an Asian female doctor.
Somebody with really small fingers. You know, so my resolution, I've never made a lose weight resolution before for New Year's. I've never made a get healthier one. I don't believe in stuff like that. But
I don't believe in getting healthy.
I don't believe in that whatsoever. But it's been something I've been thinking about for a while. And listen, you know, the people on SHR have spoken. I've listened. They want me to be around for a long time, and they want us to keep doing this and be a juggernaut in this industry. And you know, I want to be around to do that. So I want to be around to be here for my family. I want to be around to be here for you guys and my friends. And I'm going to try this year. I'm going to make a very conscious effort. And I'll probably blow it by February, but I'm going to give it a hell of a shot. Try to quit smoking and lose some weight.
Well, that's awesome. I wish you luck. In celebration of that, I'm going to buy you a pack of cigarettes.
Carton, please.
No, not a problem.
I didn't say January 1st and it's all done. You're going to ease into something like this.
Okay, so you're welcome for that.
Your body can't take the shock.
Along those same lines, I've heard the jokes. The people have spoken. I'm going to get rhinoplasty.
Finally, thank God. I'm sick of ducking that thing in studio.
Yeah, that's not my nose. Rhinoplasty is the nose surgery.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get rhinoplasty.
All I can picture is. Have you ever seen? I know
Voldemort. My nose is
Spaceballs.
going to look like Voldemort.
No, Spaceballs
from Harry Potter
with Dr.
no nose. This is going to take my nose.
No, with the doctor that's working on Princess Vespa, giving her back her old nose. He's got the giant like knife and a hatchet. Dr. von Schlotz.
Wow.
I wish you the best of luck. Let me know if I can help out with that.
Well, you're doing the surgery. What are you talking about?
All I need is a couple shots of whiskey and a sledgehammer. I'll knock that bad boy right down. I just imagine...
Wait, are we playing Things Your Wife Says again?
I could just imagine, though, the trip to the ER after that. So what happened? Well, he wanted rhinoplasty, so we got really drunk and I hit him in the face with a hammer. I'm sorry, what?
Wait, what?
Yeah, it looks great, doesn't it? Well, first of all, there's a hammer sticking out of his eye. Well, yeah, but that was on the third swing. The first two got it directly. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, it's Obamacare. Who cares, right?
Right.
Let everyone else pay for it. Folks, from those of us here at SHR Media and at the Sack Kids Radio Show and all of our great partners, we wish you and yours a very happy New Year. Be safe tomorrow night. Enjoy the New Year's. Go out, have fun, revel in it, but just be careful and make sure you're doing it for all the right reasons. Take care of your family. Take care of your friends. We thank you for an amazing 2014. We will continue to get better after the new year. We will continue to grow, and we're going to do that with you here on the SHR Media Network. We will be back at our regular time next Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific here. Make sure you check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. Also, if you're trying to get our downloads, you can do it through Spreaker. And we're going to start simulcasting each week through Spreaker for the time being. And we have so much great stuff that we're working on for 2015 with our friends. So make sure you join us. Check out tomorrow afternoon. Oh, no, wait, not tomorrow. Everyone's off tomorrow. I think Ken's back tomorrow at 6. But our afternoon shows are off. So make sure you check out Ken McClinton, the exceptional one, here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on the Sack Kids. I'm sorry, the SHR Media Network. We will talk to you soon.
Good night, my friend.
That's not our theme.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. Sack Kids Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air.
Literally on fire.
The best in conservative talk. The Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to look here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sack Kids Radio.